just a quick video going over some technique on 2 or 3 of the exercises that appear quite a lot in our workouts. The first one especially is press-ups. We had this question yesterday. So, technique, press-up wise, what we want, so our hand position, you want pretty much just wider than shoulder width apart. Now, most exercises have variations. There's so many different variations of each exercise, but this is a standard technique. It's for your standard sort of press up. So like I say, just wider than shoulders. You want the height wise, as you're doing your press up, you want your thumb to pretty much finish off just around armpit height. And as you can see, elbow here, as I bend and lower myself, if you imagine I'm on the floor lowering myself, chest comes between your hands and your elbow is sort of 45 degrees from your body. That is our strongest point to press out. I mean, there's variations on that angle where we can do more of a military press, or we can go wider and have them coming out. But for these sort of standard press-ups, to generate the most force, you're going to be able to generate more from that 45 degrees. Okay, so that is our arm position. If I bring you down to the floor, and there's different places we can do press-ups. So if we go for that floor position, so again, so that's our arm position. So nothing else changes really from hip to shoulder. That upper body position, that's where we want it. In terms of our floor press-ups, it's all about where we have our knees and whether they're on the floor or up from the floor. So if I start with a basic box press-up, so a basic box press-up, it's called a box press-up because obviously hands are pretty much under shoulders, knees are under your hips, so you're creating that little box shape. So your hands position is exactly how I've just described it, and we're lowering down, chest down to the floor, but you've not got your full body weight going through that chest because we're being supported by our knees. Now what we do to level up on this, you can take a step forward with your hands and then bring your chest and your shoulders over your hands, and as you can see the angle now here, we've got more weight going through that chest. Same thing, chest going down to the floor, but you can see on those angles it's now a bit more difficult. You can then take another step, we're then into that pretty much traditional 3/4 press up. Again, we slide forward, so we've got that chest between your hands, but then everything else is the same. We've got that 45 degrees, but you can see now that more of my body now and into those legs is adding as weight and making that a lot tougher. At this sort of stage as well, we should feel it a bit in our abs, so we need to make sure that we're pulling that belly button in and we're keeping that nice strong core, and we're trying to stay nice and straight. So we're not sagging through the stomach, we're keeping those abs tight. And then from there, we're up on our toes, and you've got your full press-ups there. Okay, and we're pushing down into those heels, but from my heels all the way up to the top of my head are nice and straight. Now the thing is, going from box to a version of that 3/4, so just working it, just stepping those hands forward, we can just nice and gradually make that exercise a little bit tougher. But once we get to that 3/4 then up to a full press up can be quite tough. Now, once you can do say 15 to 20 of those full 3/4 press-ups, you then might be able to do 1 or 2 full, and then you just do combinations. So you do 2 or 3 full ones. When they start getting too hard, you drop to your knees and do your 3/4 until eventually the number of full you can do goes up, and then you don't have to do so many 3/4. But if you're finding the transition, if you're finding the transition from a 3/4 to a full is just too difficult, then you've got a second option, which is to bring in, can we see this? So we can bring in a bench, depending on what you've got at home, a bench. The stairs are spot on because you've got those increments. Each step that you come down is just that makes it a little bit more difficult. So I'd start with you pretty much up on a 45-degree angle on that step on your stairs. When that starts getting easy, you can drop down until you're eventually 1 or 2 steps off the floor. Other option is maybe, depending on what sofas you've got, or a table or a bench in the garden, we can use that. But basically, like I say, it's the same principle. Hands are the same position, so you've got them just wider than shoulders. Body's nice and straight, and you're nice, strong and long, nice and tall, abs drawn in. And it's still the same, chest coming down between your hands. Yeah? So my starting point from the side there is about 90 degrees. This angle here, arm and body, is about 90 degrees, yeah? But from this position, we're coming out and we've got that 45 degrees, yeah? So we're pushing down into those heels, abs pulled in, nice, strong and long. Lower yourself down, back up. And we're getting those shoulders down in line with those elbows. Push back. Another one on this. Let me turn you round. Okay, let me show you on something a little bit higher. Can we see that? So this is just my bar on my rack. But height-wise, this is pretty much same height as you've probably got on your worktop in your kitchen, maybe. The higher we sort of go, people then lose track of their angles. So what I find is when people are sort of pressing off a worktop, they tend to take too far a step back. You can see now, this angle now is not 90, it's bigger than 90. So when I come to press, I'm now pressing, my head is coming down to my hands. So you need to make sure when you've got you put your hands on your worktop, again, shoulder apart, thumbs coming into your armpits. So your hand position is right on your worktop. You walk away, but you get that 90 degrees. From there, when you lower yourself down, you can see now my chest is coming down between my hands. Yeah? But from this front position, I'm still getting that 45 degrees. So it's there. Yeah? So just make sure that you've got that 90 degrees here. So effectively you're on that angle, that 90 degree angle, your shoulders are over those hands. And then we're lowering chest to the worktop and back up. But then from there, you can have a look around your houses. Find those different levels. So these are called elevated press-ups. So that just means that your upper body is elevated in relation to your feet. Yeah, so you start off, find an elevation that you can do 15 reps on. And then when that starts getting easy, we drop down to a lower elevation, lower, until you can eventually do full press-ups off the floor. So that's another alternative.